So that's sort of the basic of satire and pun. Now we also have a different kind of humor. Both of us have sort of dabbled with dry humor. This is humor that's not over the top, it's not goofy. The comedy comes from how not invested the person telling the story is. And the reason this can come across as very humorous is because you're usually talking about something that's really extreme, really over the top, really miserable, but you're talking about it in a very nonchalant way or a way you don't care. A good example, Bob Newhart did a lot of that. I think Mark Twain did a lot of that. And there was even this one time where his pauses, when Mark Twain would go up and speak, people actually thought he wasn't a speaker. You know, he was just a guy who came up and just started talking. People could hear him, but he just didn't sound that stuff. But when they heard what he was talking about, it was so bizarre and so strange they realized that, oh, this is part of the gag, is that he's talking about stuff that's actually very over the top, but he doesn't care that much about it. That's the Stephen Wright wonderful thing. Bob Newhart had a bit. He does these phone routines where he's a person talking on the phone during this very big event. Like Kong would be, climbing, a building, and he was concerned because he was the janitor and he couldn't clean up to a certain floor, and he was trying to figure out how to get rid of the monkey, on the building, but his jurisdiction only goes up to his navel, so he can't get to the head. It's maybe I could cover the price of the building with bananas or blah blah blah, and it's this massive thing, but it's like, why would a guy he's still concerned about his job, just as the janitor and cleaning the place and stuff like that. So the deadpan humor, to very big, over-the-top stuff, can go over really well also, depending on how you deliver it. That's another tricky one, because you have to know where to put the pauses, where to have the build-up, where to not deliver, as opposed to where to deliver. So it's tricky, but it requires a lot of practice. Let's go to I double check see one that actually with the deadpan humor, I'm going to go to American humor versus European.
Oh boy.
There's a very clear difference, but they're also very similar. I'll tell you how. Okay. American humor. Let's take two very famous sketch shows, Saturday Night Live and Monty Python. One from America, one from Britain. American humor. You got a really serious situation. You have the president there, and something like that. He's going to give this great big speech. And you have someone who's really over the top, and he comes in, he's making an ass of himself, and he's saying all this ridiculous stuff in this very proper place. Well, what is up with this guy? Blah, blah, blah. The focus is the person being over the top, silly, and so forth. That's most American humor. There's variations, but that's most American humor. British humor. Let's look at Monty Python. Monty Python, the people are very serious. The people are very stern. The subject matter is stupid as hell. You have John Cleese. Very dignified, very, proper, almost intimidating. He can be standing there, if he was just standing here looking at you, big eyes, he'd be very intimidating. Once he starts doing this, though, which is face, it's hilarious. Then that's just silly walks. And both can work. Now the thing with the European humor, something like Python, is they really enjoy the silly, they enjoy the surreal, so for me, it's a little bit more unexpected. I like that. I like something that you don't quite see coming. Though I do find, maybe you've seen this too, if you watch them in a row, like the Monty Pythons in a row, you can start to pick up some of the punchlines. Like, I know what they're going to try and do, because they're going to try it, They're going to think they're going to this joke, but then they're going. And where that can backfire as well is, again, it's Family Guy actually had a great reference about this. They were talking about, what was it? Somebody was torturing Meg by showing her the Monty Python sketches that weren't really funny, they're just kind of odd and don't go anywhere. And that is part of the risk when you do surreal, silly humor, is that you are going to come across those. And if you do start watching them in a row, there are a lot of those jokes that just sort of die and they're just kind of awkward and you're scratching your head, but then you get something really that's just so crazy, so insane that you can't help but laugh at, like the Spam sketch. I still don't get that. But it's fun. It's so bizarre, but you're laughing at just how strange it is. Why would why do they keep saying Spam over and over and over? Why are there Vikings in that place? Why do they sing songs to press B? Well, what is the purpose? It's just so bizarre, and for whatever reason, it really tickles your silly bone. Another good example, I'm curious if you like the show, Ren and Stimpy.
Jesus.
I like to do it now. Why do you like that show?
Oh, yeah.
Why do you like that show?
Because it's funny. It's funny, and it's I don't know, like it's gross out humor done pretty well. Done so, I don't know, just exploitively over the top in a way. It's so gruesome and how it almost switches its style of animation. It gets really gross, and it's just jarring, and some of it is even is very satirical in a way. You have a board game called Rules of the Electric Fence. Honestly seems like a board game I would have had as a kid.
It teaches you a lesson.
Yeah, exactly. Yak shaving day, making fun of silly holidays, and the powdered toast man. And they're talking horses using kitty litter. But it's how it's done. It's so genuine in how it's done, and the characters are liking it up, they're liking it up. They sell this very peer material.
And that's the thing. Ren was very, very weird. Not everyone can get into it, but what it did have is that it could really find that place where it knew it was odd, it knew it was weird, and it could put a lot of emphasis, like really dramatic adult emphasis on something so goofy or silly. Like just trying to make Ren happy and trying to make him smile, with this machine, can turn into like this big dramatic thing. And like I said, it can be grotesque and weird and ugly, stuff like that. But the music can be so chipper and happy, and the eyes are so big and extreme, and you don't know what to make of it. But it's just so intense and being shoved in your face, you can't help but laugh at it. And that humor, again, is tough to do, and it's even tougher to sell. But it can be done, and it can get a huge laugh. A good example, a lot of them don't work, but some do, like these YouTube movies you'll see. A lot of them don't work. Every once in a while, you've seen that one, where you're just like, this is so dumb, why the hell am I laughing at it? There's just something very particular about that silliness, and I think a lot of it plays with the expectation, what you think you're going to get, what you're actually getting, and playing with the patience of how long it can do something, or how short it can do something, and throwing so much at you very fast, and just putting you in a different world that you're not used to, or a different comfort zone. And you're just so thrown off, and you don't know what to think of it, but it's okay to laugh. And that's sort of the secret of silly humor, is that you can be put in a very uncomfortable place, but it's okay to enjoy. It's okay to laugh at. With that said, being okay to laugh at things, let's talk about gross out / shock humor. And this is stuff that, a lot of people don't like shock humor. A lot of people don't like stuff that you're not supposed to talk about, and some things, people would argue for good reason. But again, the reason so many people do it, and I can be a big fan of shock humor, so you can see my ass like kaiju. That's or even like humor reviews, for God's sake. I mean, it's like just the most demented shit.
Naked on the porch.
Or even just what you review. I mean, it's just like, it's very much a shock humor. And I think the reason it's important, and for me, there is no such thing as a subject matter that you can't talk about. The reason it's important is because, the reason humor is so important is because it's a device to help you adapt, it's to help you adjust and evolve and move on when bad things are happening to you. It's a way of saying, oh, this bad thing that's happening, that's part of life, and it's okay, and I can laugh at this, and I can move on, I can get better. I'm not going to be stuck in this position. And shock humor is a very good way of finding that, and really sort of busting through and saying, hey, you can laugh at this, or there's something to find the humor here, because really, and this is the sad thing about people that do shock humor a lot of times, is that people think they're trying to put me in a bad spot. Actually, they're not. They're trying to get you out of that bad spot. They're trying to, take something that's very uncomfortable to you. It could be murder, or abortion, or stem cell research, whatever, execution, or whatever. All this stuff that can be really uncomfortable to you, and just shove it in your face and say, look, we're humans, we're people, and this is here, and pretending it's not here isn't going to make it go away. We have to see that it's here. And, not only that, you can see that this is just a part of who we are. So for that reason, I think shock humor is very important. It can be done wrong, and many times it is. My grandfather had a great saying. He said, because he was a fan of shock humor and gross out humor and stuff like that, he said, if it's more funny than it is shocking, it's okay. If it's more shocking than it is funny, it's just more shocking than it is funny. And why would you want that? So you still have to find the humor of the situation. You still have to see why it's humor to laugh at. That's your job when you're doing shock humor, is that you're finding the humor in something that other people can't find. And in my opinion, what I was saying before about the social humor they can't talk about, I still stand by that. However, I do believe that there is a matter, I believe very strongly, in timing. And what I mean by that is that, like for example, a lot of people have heard or even made Hitler jokes.
Yeah.
Or Nazi jokes and stuff like that. But if you were to make that during World War II or anything like that, actually, yeah, a lot of people did. But a lot of people would argue this is a pain that's still too close. People are dying in concentration camps, and this monster is in charge of it and stuff like that. And it's still too close. It's still too painful. And you do have to let people sort of go through this mourning and this acceptance of what's going on. It's not like laughter is always the best medicine. Laughter has its place. It's very important, but it has its time as well. I mean, that's why people do say timing is so important, because if you get it wrong, especially on something that's very shocking or controversial or emotional to people, you can really hurt, with this. So that's why I think it's very important to know when to use it. With that said, for example, as I was saying with everything done in misery, the quote-unquote funniest joke ever made. Scientifically, this is the funniest joke ever made. And it's cute. But statistically, the most people laugh at this and get the biggest reaction. Two hunters are in the woods. One accidentally shoots the other, thinking he's a deer. He goes, oh my God! And he dials 911. He says, 911, 911, I shot my friend here. I think he's dead. I think he's dead. The operator says, okay, sir, first things first. I want you to go and make sure he's really dead. That guy goes over, shoots him in the head. Okay, now what?
Okay, yeah.
It's actually a pretty decent joke. Some would argue it's not the funniest, but it's a decent joke. But now let's get down to all seriousness here. A person has died. It was a life. It was a life. A person has been, and not like that person who shot him didn't know any better. That's making fun of people that don't have the mental capacity for a lot of this stuff, or people with learning disability. That person's going to be scarred for life. He shot his best friend not knowing any better. He could have saved him, but now he's probably going to have to go through therapy and stuff like that. Hell, he might even go in and commit suicide because of what he did. And so now we have two people dead, and if you get down to it, this is really friggin' dark. Really friggin' negative. But you all laugh. It is funny. It's very, very funny, but that's my point, is that anything when you really dissect it in terms of humor is miserable. And it comes from a dark, depressing place. That's why humor is so important, and that's why I think shock humor is just as important as any other type of humor. But again, it can be done wrong, it can be said too early, or even sometimes too late. And it's very important to know how to do it. And the sad thing about shock humor is that you have to do trial and error. And the errors are pretty bad. But, that is the only way to learn it, is to just try